go.
Good morning, one and all. Who have we got in the house today? Good morning. Oh, the music's already playing up. Let's get rid of that. Yes, good morning. Let me try that again. Good morning, one and all. Who we got? We've got Dan Cullen, who was first off the mark, as he always is these days. We've got Footy is here as well. Ken Hatter is here with, I don't know, the weather may be the end of the world down in Wales. I don't honestly know. Had a note here from Dan Cullen who says, how the Googles are we? Sad news, another two firms in administration. There's some talk on our WhatsApp group that a couple of companies have gone to the wall. No confirmation on this. I'm going to stress this very, very carefully because obviously being a journalist, I do need to get my facts straight. But according to Dan this morning, both Hire Test over in Watford, which is on his doorstep actually, and quite possibly O'Halloran O'Brien have gone as well. Repercussions of that one are going to be huge because O'Halloran O'Brien not only very big but also very well respected as well. I hope the news is wrong. I hope it's just speculation, and I hope that proves to be wrong. But we'll be keeping you abreast of all of that as all of that becomes clear. Going to say very good morning to our friend Gary Muirhead. Good morning, Mark. Good morning, gang, he says. Let's have a look. Footy is still at home. Promise of work for Monday. See how it goes. Dan Cullen says, what the F is the government doing about this fiasco and developers allowing this to happen? The problem is, given the rate with which construction companies seem to be collapsing at the moment, I'm not entirely sure there's enough in the government of coffers to actually bail them out. Chris Ford, good morning. Morning and good morning. Thank you very much indeed for that. Mick Norton is here as well. Good day, Mark, he says, because apparently he is now Australian. I want to say a very quick good morning as well while we're here to all those watching over on Instagram. Because it occurred to me yesterday, obviously, that this show has been live and largely kicking over on places like Facebook and YouTube and LinkedIn as well for the past, well, nearly 4 years in its various guises. But it's relatively new to the world of Instagram. So I just wanted to remind everyone that's watching over on Instagram, this is a two-way conversation. Good morning to Tristan Mays over on Instagram, for example. Please feel free, post comments, ask questions, generally join in. You can start by introducing yourselves. Let us know where in the world you are right now. And we're going to crack on with our scheduled programming. Without further ado, let me roll the intro, post the question of the day, and get this show on the road. It is Wednesday the 6th of March and not Tuesday the 5th of March as it says on my screen. Welcome to the Breakfast Show. I am your host, Mark Anthony. Good morning to you one and all. In today's show, we have some awesome bridge demolition all the way from Canada. We've got some tracked carrier action as well. Neil Edwards has just joined us over in the chat. Good morning, Neil, and welcome aboard. Caterpillar's VisionLink takes care of your machine while you take care of business. And while we all argue about electricity and hydrogen, let's not forget about the carbon reduction capabilities of hybrid machines. Good morning to Mark Whiting, who's just joined us over on Facebook. Plus, we're going to be looking ahead to see what Komatsu will be bringing with them to Intermat in 2024, which is just, well, what is it now? A month and a bit away? Something like that. But before we get to all of that, before we get to all of the bits in the show, and before we get to Intermat as well, we do have the small matter of today's mystery machine. So let me show you this, and then I'll get you started on today's mystery machine. Yeah, let me show you what it is that you have to work with today. I've kept the colour in this time, just to keep you on your toes, basically. Here we go. That's the mystery machine you've got to work out today. If anybody's got any suggestions on that, I'd love to hear from you. If you're over on Instagram, I realise you're looking at this on a mobile phone screen and it is very, very small. But if you can identify that machine based on that, well, consider yourself wise beyond your years. But that's what you've got to work with. If anyone's got any suggestions on that, then let us know. We'll come back to that a little bit later in the show. Just while you're trying to figure it out, how about we recap on today's question of the day? Yeah, our question today is this. Have you ever had an irrational fear, something you were afraid of for no good reason? I've got two: drowning, but very specifically, and sharks. Okay, so the movie Jaws screwed me up, and frankly, I no longer see the ocean as a place of pleasure and excitement. I now see it as an enormous buffet with me as one of the starters. And it doesn't even matter whether the ocean has sharks or not. The very fact that they might be there, I'm just not willing to take the chance. My other fear is drowning, but it's a very, very specific drowning. For years, I had a recurring nightmare that I was in a swimming pool where the water level just kept rising and rising and rising until there was just an inch or two of air between the surface of the water and me and the ceiling. Obviously, my brain knew that this wasn't possible, but I was terrified just the same. And even now, every once in a while, that same nightmare comes back to haunt me. So anybody got any irrational fears, things that you were afraid of that you probably shouldn't be afraid of? Let us know in the chat. We will come back to that at the end of the show, but we do need to start the show properly now. I can tell you we've had a bunch of guesses on our mystery machine, which looks like that. What have we had? We've had a Lugong 924. No. Had an X series JCB 140. No. We've had a Big Cat. No. We've had a Komatsu 210. No. It's none of those things. Before we crack on, I'll tell you what, let me give you a little smidgen more. That will prove absolutely nothing at all, but that's what you've got to work with. Keep the guesses coming in. Now, let me take that off the screen because we do have some actual stuff to show you. We're going to start today with a spot of demolition. More specifically, we're going to start with a spot of bridge demolition. To be entirely specific, this is a bridge demolition carried out by Demolition Plus over in Canada. I think you'll enjoy this one. It's very unlikely anyone's ever going to ask me this question, but if anybody did actually ask me my favourite kind of demolition, I think bridge demolition would be right up there. More guesses on our mystery machine. Jim Turner has said a JCB 6-tonner. It is not. Dan Cullen, getting closer. Sandy 450. It is not, but you're getting closer. Let me show you a smidgen more while we're here. There you are. That's a little bit more that you've got to work with. See, this is how you can know you can't please all the people all the time. When I played that Demolition Plus video just a moment ago, Jim Turner, as he often does, says, tune. Meanwhile, over on Instagram, Tristan Mose just said, that music is horrible. I thought I had a connection problem. You can't please all the people all the time. That's the Mystery Machine right there. Chris Ford says, a Mystery Machine, no quick hitch, XCMG XE210. It is not. And it is not a Wacker Neuson either. It is none of those things. Keep the guesses coming in. While you're doing that, I'm going to do this.
If you are enjoying this episode, please consider supporting the show. You can leave us a tip at buymeacoffee.com/demolition news.
Track carriers. Bit of an unsung hero of the construction sector, in my opinion. Not exactly sexy, and they're certainly not what you'd call versatile, but put them in the right application, and they're pretty much unmatched.
Hi, I'm JR from Rayco. Today we're going to talk about the RCT 150 track carrier. This is a rubber-tracked vehicle designed to carry payloads of up to 15,000 pounds through conditions not accessible to rubber-tired machines. The RCT 150 features 2-speed final drives and rides on 28-inch wide rubber tracks with floating bogey wheel suspension. The 28-inch wide rubber tracks yield a ground pressure of just 4 psi when fully loaded. The RCT 150 features a comfortable operator cabin with a heated, adjustable air ride suspension seat, adjustable armrests, and joystick controls. The RCT 150 also features a folding front window. Heating and air conditioning are standard on the RCT 150. At an overall width of 101.5 inches, the RCT 150 doesn't require over-width permits in most states. The RCT 150's standard dump bed is 10 feet long by 7'9" wide with 14-inch folding sides. The RCT 150 can be sold with a dump bed, a flat bed, or as a simple cabin chassis that can be outfitted with a wide variety of specialized equipment. The RCT 150 has a Caterpillar 7.1-liter diesel engine that makes 275 horsepower and meets Tier 4 final emissions. It's housed in an easy-to-access engine compartment.
Just want to say a very quick thing to anybody that's American that's watching. Please catch up with the metric system. What does £1,500 even look like? I'm willing to tolerate you spelling specialised with a Z in it, grudgingly, but metric, people, love of God. Dan Cullen enjoying the tune. He's also guessing that our Mystery Machine is a JCB 450. It is not that. And he's also guessing it is an XCMG 500. It is not that either. Jim Turner said that track carrier looked like it had an old Sumitomo cab on it. Graham Footy Williams says, used to have a ticket with them. Really awesome, good machines all round. Get where ADTs can't. I'd say hot. I'd say hot too. As I say, very specialist machine, but in the right application. Now, let me show you a little bit more of our Mystery Machine. See if I can give you a bit more of a clue. There you are. It looks a bit like a back end to me, but which machine has a back end that looks like that? Dan is enjoying the track dumper as well. Good. Shall we crack on? Because I think we should. What do we need? We need a smidgen of this. I'm just going to throw over to Chris Ford very quickly about track dumpers. I definitely need to wear a seatbelt driving one of those. A bit late on versatility, or a bit light possibly. I've got a 30-ton Terex dumper with a hook lift, cracking piece of kit, he says. Right, speaking of cracking bits of kit, we're off. Buckle up, people. In fact, we're headed down under yet again. This time we're off to visit a Caterpillar customer that is keeping a close eye on its costs using Caterpillar's VisionLink system. So prepare for takeoff, because here we go.
Today we happen to have the privilege of being up at the Rio Argyle closure, working with our customer MDM Mining and Civil.
MDM's been engaged to work on the Argyle Diamond Mine closure project. Grandmother's a senior traditional owner, she's now passed. She's one of the original signatories for the agreement with the Rio, so that's my connection. MDM has 22 pieces of Caterpillar plant. That makes up about 95% of our fleet. Long history working on Caterpillar equipment. We choose Caterpillar for its productivity, technology and support.
Any company that understands their costs can improve. When you're talking big numbers on some contracts, you could come unstuck quite quickly if you weren't putting the right data in.
So VisionLink productivity gives us access to data that would be traditionally tracked through load sheets, whereas this is able to track data through 3G network, gives us updates on productivity, utilisation, simple things like load counts. The feedback we've got from the operators, they really like seeing that data. That helps them understand what we're trying to achieve. Another advantage is we're able to generate different boundaries and zones, which are called geofencing. That helps us protect culturally significant areas on their site.
Of all the things to notice, Footy was concentrating on the headgear. I do like their hard hats over there. They look better than the English ones. I've got a bit of a hankering for an American-style hard hat. If anybody, setting aside the fact that I've just insulted your refusal to adopt the metric system, if anybody in America would like to send me an American-style hard hat, it would take pride of place right behind me there. That's a whole other story. The guesses are still coming in on our mystery machine, and none of them correct. Dan Cullen has taken a stab at a Komatsu 450. It is not. Chris Ford, speaking for everybody, I think. The squares of my phone are about 7 millimeters in the mystery machine picture. If I get it right, it will be a miracle. My eyes are watering just looking. Let me give you a bit more to work with, shall I? I think I can get away with maybe one or two more. Yeah, there's a little bit more. Does that help at all? Let's have a look. Dan Cullen actually says, well, that's some mine. And Graham says, I've got a black one in a lockup somewhere. If I can find it, you can have it. If you're talking about an American-style hard hat, that would be perfect. I came so close to buying one at ConExpo, not the last ConExpo, the one before. Looked like it had been chromed. You know, it's a proper American style with a brim all the way around. Chromed, but with the American Stars and Stripes flag on it. Yes, I would have taken some abuse for that wearing it on site, but I think it would have been worth it. We need to move on, shall we? Mouse isn't working. Let's have a look. Let me go over here when my mouse allows me to do so and do one of these.
Since the finance bill came into effect in April, the construction industry has seen a surge of fuel thefts. The rising cost of living has placed an additional risk of theft by employees and contractors, as well as opportunistic thieves. By using diesel dye and placing warnings of its use, you are sending a clear message that this is your fuel.
Right, I need to show you, everybody, that this is actually what this show was designed to do. Chris Ford has just said, Billy Upton is watching me, watching you. No work to do, fella. Come on, Billy. Either watch the bloody show yourself or get back to work. Dear Lord, sir. Graham, Footy Williams says, on eBay, they're actually selling the American aluminium ones like they were in the... What Red Dead Air used to wear. Okay, that sounds good enough for me. One wonder on the soil. There is it. Is it sore on machine parts? Was that the Australian thing? It did look pretty abrasive, didn't it? I have to say. Yes. Now, let me get back to where we were while we're not talking to Billy Upton, who was just watching quietly around a corner. Amidst all the talk of NRMM, non-road mobile machinery, electricity, hydrogen, I feel like two current options have been rather forgotten and overlooked. I know that some companies are pressing on with HVO, but as you're about to see, there's still a lot to recommend. Hybrid machines. Slightly Aussie feel about the show today, actually. We've already had a video from Australia, and our friend Frank D'Angelo over at Diacon Demos just joined us over on Instagram. Good morning, Frank. Good evening, Frank, as the case may be. Billy Upton, who was called out by Chris Ford, has just joined the show. Steady away, Chris Ford. Just ticking over nicely, as are we all, Billy. But welcome. Thank you very much indeed for joining the show. Dan Cullen is back to guessing the name and identity of our mystery machine. It is not a Lugong 950. It is not a Lugong at all. You were closer before, actually. Footy has been on to eBay. Apparently, if you search for aluminium hard hat, they come up. I know they're about 48 quid, and then he comes back and says, actually, he's checked a bit further, and you can get them for 30 quid. Maybe having a look at that. And yes, we were talking about the abrasive nature of the Australian soil. I was guessing, but turns out I guessed right. So thank you very much indeed for that, Dan. Yes, going back to that Volvo machine, has anybody operated a hybrid machine? Anybody here actually? I'm going to take that away for a second. Has anybody actually operated a hybrid machine? I took a spin in a Kobelco hybrid, good maybe 3 or 4 years ago. I have to say, very impressed indeed, particularly with things like slew speed. In actual fact, slew speed actually took me by surprise. So anybody else got any experience of hybrid machines that you would care to share? I think I can get away with another image of this. So here's the mystery machine again. Does that help at all? I'm thinking probably not. But we've got one more film to bring you, and if you haven't got it by the time that's over and done with, I win. Dan Cullen, going back to the hybrid machine, 17%, not a great deal. What's that in litres? But bearing in mind the cost per litre, you add that up over a day, over a week, over a month, over a year, maybe it makes a lot more sense. Footy says I had a hybrid, Komatsu hybrid. Very good, I understand, is my take on that. Chris Ford, I've got a Cat 336 XE, which is a hybrid machine. Very impressed so far. Good to hear. Dan Cullen, it is not a Lugong 1000. It is not a Hyundai either. However, Jim Turner, you're not right, but you're close. You're very close. I'm going to take that off the screen because we have one more thing to show you actually, and we'll be right back with it after this. I will get to that in just a moment, but we've had another couple of guesses. A Sani 500, it is not, and a Sani 25 tonner, says Jim Turner. We're looking for models. I've got a specific model in front of me, and I'm fairly sure it's not a 25 tonner, but I'm looking for a specific model. But you're desperately close. Now, the Intermat exhibition, which we've just shown you, will bring together more than 1,000 exhibitors, all vying for the attention of tens of thousands of visitors. One of the biggest and most impressive displays is likely to be that of the mighty Komatsu. We called up with Komatsu at the recent Intermat Press Days event to find out what they have in store. And I'm going to show you that just as soon as I can get this off my computer. It looks a bit like this.
I'm Mark Blondier from Komatsu Europe, Marketing and Communication Manager. And I would like to welcome you at Intermat in 2024 in April. So come and see us. Well, it's our commitment to the public and to our operators that they can see what's going on. We believe that we have to be there digital, and that's why you are interviewing me. But also we give the possibility to all those people, all those exciting operators to come and see us and have a nice drink, Coca-Cola or beer, whatever, coffee and a nice croissant, and having a good time. So yeah, we're excited. We all have the big machines, so we will have the PC950 outside in combination with the HT605, so the big ones I put outside. We bring also exceptionally a motor grader, GD605. Maybe not directly for the big market in Europe, but Intermat has a nice big influence for the African market. So that's the reason why we bring that machine as well. And then also for the demolishers, we will have a nice new demolition maybe. We released the press release last year that Komatsu is there with a 20-ton hydrogen. But it's too early to show it. The Komatsu has a tradition to show things in public when it's safe and well developed, ready for the market and to test. But it's too early. But we're working on it. And if it's too early now, let's hope for Bauma. Digitalization and decarbonization, electrification as I call it. You know, we have the intelligent machines, and people know that it's integrated system. And now we come up with the 3D machine guidance systems on top to have more machine excavators equipped with digitalization. So this is one focus, and we have a smart construction team on an Intermat booth who can help the customers explain everything. We have the product managers which can explain this on the machine itself. And then on the other side, we will have a demo show, an eco show I call it, on the booth inside, with where we can move the electric machines. And this from small ones till the PC210. New one will be the 138. So it have been imported in Europe. So we will show it live. Then also PC33. I remember Bauma, we had the canopy version. The intention is to have the cabin version, but everything depends on the routiers if they don't block our vessel, because if it is there with a cabin, then there was no problem to pass through the Suez Canal. But if you'll see popping up the cabin version again, it's because of that, because the timing of arrival time is very tricky.
If Intermat is a success, It will be against all odds. As our friend Mark has just said there, we've obviously got blockade of the Suez Canal to contend with, and obviously we've got the ongoing protests in Paris as well. Be a miracle if it goes ahead, but I've got my fingers crossed. Just on the subject of Komatsu, they always put on a great display. Their demo at the last Intermat actually was one of the showstoppers, and they pretty much owned Samota last year. So looking forward to see exactly what they've got in store for us this time around. Let's say good morning to Peter McKenna, who has joined us belatedly, but welcome nonetheless. Had a few more guesses on our mystery machine, which currently looks like that, but I think I'm going to declare myself a winner unless somebody can get the right answer before I sign off officially. That's what you're working with at the moment. Let me show you. I've got one more thing that I can show you there. That's what we're looking at. If anybody can guess what that mystery machine is, between now and me saying I'm going to leap gazelle like over into the chat, which is more than about 20 seconds away, please let us know. I'll keep it on the screen, but I'm going to shrink it down just a touch. There you are. That's what you've got to work with, because that pretty much wraps up the main part of this morning's show. I'm going to roll the outro in just a second before leaping gazelle like over into the chat to see what you're all saying today. Let's talk irrational fears. Let's talk businesses going out of business while we're about it as well, if you care to do that. If you can't stick around for that, please stay safe. Look after yourself, your family, your friends, and your colleagues. I hope to see you again very soon. I'm playing this out because I'm hoping that somebody's going to come up with the right answer on the machine. They haven't. So, Footy has just said, I've got the iPad out, and even on the iPad, I can't tell what it is. Let me put you out of your misery. I tell you what, let me blow it up full screen. It is a Sany SY700. That's what you're looking at right there. Realize you may not have encountered too many of them in the wild, but that's what it is. The SY700, which I think might well be their biggest machine at the moment, or biggest excavator. Don't hold me to that because I'm not an expert on Sanys, but that's what it was. So I win. Chalk one up to the host in the silly hat. I wish you could see the comment we've just had in from Tristan Mays over at Crane Hub. We have about a dozen vomiting heads, icons, emojis, because our friend Tristan, not a fan of the Chinese brands. Each to their own. Right, people. Chris Ford says, winner, chicken dinner. Yeah, chicken dinner for me. I'm going to play the outro. I'll be back in a sec. While I'm figuring out the music, Peter McKenna says, oh, didn't give me much of a chance. Turn up on time, sir. Turn up on time. This tardiness that you seem to have adopted. We start at 10. The mystery machine starts at about 10:05. If you're not here for the beginning, you have nobody to blame but yourselves. Good morning, Peter. Thank you for joining us. There we go. Let me take that away because I'm going to go right the way back to the beginning of the chat. First off the line this morning was our friend Dan Cullen. Dan, who does he stay on? Yes, I think he does. He's figured out that you can actually leave comments on YouTube before we even start, and he does that on a daily basis. I don't know why. I think he just likes to be first off the mark. But good morning, Dan. Thank you for being here. Second off the mark was our friend Ken Hatcher, who has apparently black sunshine. Special black sunshine. Yes, is there? Has anybody else heard any of this? How the Googles are we? Sad news about another 2 firms in administration. Higher test, according to Dan, and he should know because it's on his doorstep. But there are also suggestions. I read a couple of comments over on our WhatsApp group that O'Halloran O'Brien may be not in a good way. As I say, please let me reassure you that is not confirmed. I may be speaking completely out of turn. This is a live show. We're reacting purely to the comments that we've had, but that is the comments that we're having. So, yes, hope that's not true. Gary Muirhead, good morning, Mr. Muirhead. Speaking of Gary Muirhead, Gary, I spoke to Craig yesterday. I know you hooked us up. not in a Tinder kind or grinder way, but I spoke to Craic, had about half an hour on the phone with him. We're going to do a podcast together, so listen out for that. We're going to try and do it a bit differently. Our podcasts in the past have tended to be a bit linear, so you start at the beginning and you end at the end. But because of the way that Craic came across, and I won't bore you yet, the way that Craic came across, he's got lots of stories to tell, and I think it kind of needs a narrative to sort of weave around. It'll make sense in my head. Titan's Demo just joined us over on Instagram. Good morning to Titan's Demo. Whereabouts in the world are you guys? Let's have a look. Still at home. Promised work for Monday. See how it goes. Says Footy. Fingers crossed for you, my friend. Yeah, I kind of answered this one off the cuff and probably didn't answer it correctly. I think construction is currently in such a poor state. I mean, what have we lost now? 4,500 companies or something ridiculous like that. And I think, to expect the government to bail out all of those, I think is asking a bit much. But bearing in mind, whenever there's a recession, it is always construction that the government looks to lead us back out. When COVID hit, construction was given key worker status because of its role in keeping the UK, not just the UK, but the UK economy wheels turning. You would think that by now, and I've written an article today. I haven't shared it in the WhatsApp group. I'll do it afterwards. And this is talking specifically about demolition, and I've called the article "Under Siege" because it does feel very much like the demolition industry is under siege at the moment. Environmental, economical, the whole other bunch of other stuff that has got us on our heels. And nobody seems to be doing anything about it. There is an IDE meeting this week. It may even be today, actually. I can't actually remember. But is anybody going to stand up and say, guys, we need to put our heads together here because things are getting mighty tough out there? I don't believe they will. There's an NFDC AGM a bit later in this month, probably a couple of weeks' time. Will they? Probably not. So what are we going to do? We're going to stand by and watch. We've lost 6 demolition companies in 4 months. Are we going to watch another 6 go before anybody takes action? Would that be enough? Would anybody actually pull their finger out of their rear end and say, guys, we need to pull together here? No sign of it happening yet. Chris Ford says, good morning, good morning, good morning. Mick Norton says, good day, Mark. He preempted the fact that we had some Aussie input on today's show. Question of the day today. Have you ever had an irrational fear? Now, there, in my head, there are rational fears and there are irrational fears. Now, I actually think I've kind of got a foot in both camps with sharks. I'm terrified of sharks, which is a rational fear. If you lived in South Africa or Australia or on certain bits of the American coast, you have every right to be afraid of sharks because they do eat people on a pretty regular basis. However, I live 60 miles inland in the UK. The chances of me running into a great white shark in Epsom High Street feel pretty slim, but I'm terrified. So, as I say, irrational fear. And the other one, I think it is Chris Ford, says he didn't learn to swim for quite some time, and I'll come to that when we get to it. I was the same. I didn't learn to swim until I was about 15. Terrified of water up until that point. And maybe that was the hangover. As I said earlier in the show, I used to have this recurring dream of being in a swimming pool that gradually filled further and further and further. And I was treading water, but I ended up with just like an inch and a half of air at the top, gasping for air. I had that for years. Now I've mentioned it, I may well have it again. Somebody called Brett Anderson has just joined us over on Instagram. I'm fairly sure that's not the Brett Anderson who is the lead singer of Suede, but if it is, thank you for Animal Nitrate. I really enjoyed that tune. I'm in a world of my own here. Excuse me. Mark Whiting is here as well. Good morning to Mr. Whiting. Good morning to... there's Ken Hatcher saying good morning to Neil. Jim Turner's here as well. I think Neil came and went, actually. Morning, Neil. Any good or bad news for us? I didn't get a chance to ask him, to be honest. Lots and lots and lots of guesses on our mystery machine, none of which were correct because I won today. Yeah, now, going back to irrational fears, I think these are both rational and irrational, to be honest. Ken Hatcher says spiders and height. If you're working at height, bearing in mind it is still the biggest killer in the UK construction and demolition industry, if you set aside asbestos and if you set aside suicide, let's do that. But it is the biggest killer that is listed by the HSE. So I think that's a rational one. But do you work at height? Don't believe you do. And spiders. Listen, I don't particularly like spiders. I wouldn't say I'm scared of them, but I don't particularly like them. But bearing in mind, when it comes to a fight between a human and a spider, you pretty much got them outgunned, haven't you? Yes, they may be able to bite you, but you've got plenty of opportunity to hit them with a big shoe or stamp on them or something. So I think both rational and irrational. That's why I'm calling it My House, My Rules. Jim Turner was enjoying the tune. Which one was that? That was the Demolition Plus. Fantastic job, the team Demolition Plus doing over in Canada there. Awesome stuff. Love to see a bit of bridge demolition. Chris Ford says Mystery Machine, no quick catch. No, there wasn't. He said it was an XCMG XC210. It was not. It was not a Wacker Neuson either. Dan Cullen also impressed. And you know, I think that's one of the things. I'm glad you picked up on that, Dan. I think that's one of the things that attracts me to bridge demolition, because it is so often done against the clock. It is done almost with, no, I'm not even going to say that. It's done with military precision. We'll do this bit first between these hours, and then we'll do that bit. And that machine has to be there, and that machine has to be there, and that machine has to clear up after itself, and so on down the line. And as Dan Cullen says, coordination is the key. Absolutely. It is. I know somebody said about poetry in motion, may have been yesterday's show, but poetry in motion, if you really want to see poetry in motion, get yourself along to see a bridge demolition. It's an astonishing thing to watch. Looks like an old Sumitomo cab. That was on the track carrier, I think. And Chris Ford saying, definitely need to wear a seatbelt driving one of those. I don't think I've ever actually driven one, you know. I've driven some of the stand-on, or the ride-on ones. I've never driven one of those, not that big. Racking my brain to see if there's anything in the background. Can't remember ever driving one of those, but I can believe it. I do like the hard hats over there. They look better than the English ones. Yeah, the English ones are a bit boring, aren't they? And I also quite like the American thing. And listen, I know there's going to be somebody out there that says it's not safe to do so, and it undermines the integrity of the hard hat and pish posh. The American idea of having a hard hat and then putting stickers on it, I think that looks really pretty awesome. We don't do that here, do we? A boring old white hat or a boring old yellow hat. Boring, because we have to tick the health and safety box. Enough. Chris Ford explained why he failed miserably on today's Mystery Machine. The squares on my phone are about 7mm. Mystery Machine picture. If I get it right, it'll be a miracle. My eyes are watering just looking. I'm sat here wearing glasses. I know what the machine is, and even I couldn't figure it out if I were asked to. Footy reckons he's got an American-style black hard hat somewhere. Billy Upton was looking over Chris Ford's shoulder this morning, and then he did actually join the show. So, Billy Upton, welcome to the Pleasure Dome. Let's have a look. I am going to go and have a look on eBay to see if I can get myself one of those American-style hard hats. Although, don't forget, I am all scheduled to be in Vegas again in September for the Mine Expo show. Fingers crossed. Got a few bits and pieces to do before we got that, but we're already registered. So, yeah, that is the plan. I'll keep you posted on that. Now, somebody did actually mention, there we are, Chris Ford said, I've got a Cat 336 XE, which is a hybrid machine. Very impressed so far. Ken Hatcher then said, I don't think Cat make a hybrid anymore. Do they not? I can't check at the moment, but if anybody's got any word on that, I'd love to hear from you. Has anybody else noticed that Caterpillar, and maybe when you're as big as Caterpillar, you don't need to be first past the post. But you saw from our friend Mark at Komatsu there, that Komatsu have a working prototype of a hydrogen machine lurking in the background. Obviously, we know that JCB have got 2 or 3 hydrogen machines ready and standing by. Hyundai showed off a prototype at Bauma, and Liebherr did precisely the same, also at Bauma. No word on hydrogen from Komatsu, from Caterpillar as yet. Oh, now we know they've got a finger in that pie, and they're working with some mining companies on hydrogenization and stuff, but not. Has anybody heard of a hydrogen machine coming out of the Caterpillar stable? Or are they waiting for everybody else to make their mistakes so they can just pop along and say, now we'll take over? My friends at Oil Craic have just joined us all the way from Sweden, I think. Oil Craic are in Sweden, aren't they? Yes, they are. Good morning to Oil Craic. Love your quick couplers, fellas. I do. They've revolutionised the demolition business. Always great to see the folks at Oil Craic here. Dan Cullen, back to hybrids, had a few hours on one, but ended up not operating it. But what did you make of it? As I say, I was very impressed. Once I'd got the hang of it, I mean, I don't drive machines very often anyway, but I got into a Cabell, it was about I don't know, 15 tonne or something like that. Got into it, dug a bit, slewed, and the thing just seemed to take off. Really took me by surprise. Once I got used to it, it was okay, but no, lightning fast. Now, I mentioned Irrational Fears, and I mentioned Chris Ford as well. Question 8, used to be water until I was about 12. Wouldn't even go in a paddling pool without wellies until then. Yeah, I can understand that. Water is scary. It is very scary. One of the things, you know, when you find yourself by the coast, particularly if you're on holiday and there's a storm and you actually see a sea rise up, you know, where you get those big crashing waves. I was on holiday with a friend of mine. I was about 17, 18 years old, and it wasn't a stormy day, but it was a very windy day. Really sort of whipped the waves up. And I tell you what, I mean, we were playing in the surf, but when a wave hits you, I mean, you're 30 yards up the beach, and there's nothing you can do to stop it. Just reminds you, the power in a wave, pretty serious business. Let's have a look. Loads and loads of people guessing. Peter McKenna actually says, I've got it on a 55-inch ultra wide, still no clue. Yes. See, I did go out on my way to make things a little bit more. Peter McKenna says he can't tune in because his wife lynches him. Quite right too. Chris Ford says, snooze you lose, I need a bigger screen. That's a pro iPhone. I'd still struggle, I think. Peter McKenna says, I hate my illness, just a decent run of work and I'm laid up again. I'd rather work than sit at home, but it's just not getting any easier. I can believe that. No, I can absolutely believe that. And listen, I've seen it up close. I've seen how my dad went. I mean, my dad got COPD, not always diagnosed with COPD, not long after he retired, and it knocked him sideways. Never mind going to work, but just couldn't do anything. Literally couldn't do anything. Footy says, I've been onto eBay, taken a screenshot of 2 things, sent it to you on your... they do a cowboy hard hat as well. What are you trying to say, Footy? I mean, you've got a point, but what are you trying to say? Peter McKenna says, hopefully the Bank of England will change the interest rate to 3%. Yeah, it is today, isn't it? The budget used to be, when I was on a magazine, that used to be bring the office to a standstill, all sit there with our notepads listening to the radio. Not any longer. Peter McKenna says, question of the day, needles both rationally and irrationally. Yeah. Do you know, I'm not bothered by needles, injections and having blood taken, but obviously Peter has his health issues and challenges. When I had my burst appendix and then subsequently got myself a couple of doses of sepsis, I was having blood tests every couple of hours. I was having injections and stuff like that. And although they say you'll just feel, which always amuses me, you'll just feel a sharp scratch or a prick. I feel a prick most of the time. That's a whole other story. But when you've had 2, 3, 4, 5 in a day, it's not just a sharp scratch. It really, really, I wouldn't even say it hurts. It's just like, oh, no more. Enough now. So I can fully relate to that one, Peter. Chris Ford said plenty of sharks inland. See, now you're talking my language. And I think this is prompted by the fact that I do have this weird fixation with sharks. I've actually read loads. There's a fantastic book called Close to Shore. Can't remember the name of the author. Close to Shore, which charts a series of shark attacks that happened a good few miles inland in New Jersey. I think it was in the 1920s or thereabouts. And supposedly they were the inspiration for Peter Benchley to write Jaws, although he's took place at sea, but these attacks actually took place inland. And yeah, absolutely horrifying stories. And funnily enough, the way that the thing transitioned, I think because of size, Jaws was about a great white shark. The actual attacks that took place inland were almost certainly a bull shark, because bull sharks can survive in brackish water, half salt, half fresh water. So these things had swum a long, long way in. But there are reports of shark sightings and even shark attacks, literally hundreds of miles inland in America. They do exist. So yeah, I mean, even cooling off in an American river, maybe not a great idea. Some of them have gators. Some of them might have sharks. All true. Tim Gosden, who I think it was started the conversation this morning on WhatsApp, was it true about O'Halloran and O'Brien? Can anyone confirm? Dan Cullen believes it to be true, but we've not actually had any formal confirmation as yet. I'll be digging as soon as the show's over and done with. Some of the drugs I was on for my pain when I was school age used to make me have a recurring dream that I was falling down a dark hole. I had to catch my false leg before I hit the bottom. I never caught it and I'm still here, so no detrimental after effects. Why did you... I wonder what was going on in your head that said you had to catch your false leg before you hit the bottom. I wonder what that's... Is there a hidden message in that? Let's have a look. When you go to Italy, if you talk to your friend in Italy, he actually makes them, and we might let you have a test drive on one. We're talking about Mr. Lurini. Yes, he does make track dumpers. You're right. Really smart ones as well. Footy says, I've got an aluminium hard hat. I wear it at work and it's covered in stickers. Good for you, sir. Good for you. Question of the day. An irrational fear, vegophobia, an aversion to vegans or vegetarians. Yeah. Speaking of somebody that was a vegetarian for about 5 years, even I can see where you're coming from. I did get a bit precious about it, I have to say. I'm not as bad as a vegan who cannot keep their veganism to themselves, because they all tell you. But no, I did get a bit... What's the expression? I did get a little bit up my own arse about being a vegetarian. I don't know why. Let's have a look. Chris Ford says, got a book somewhere that I bought around the time Jaws came out detailing shark attacks. God knows why I bought it, but interesting reading. There was a book, which is... I don't suppose it's on the shelf here, but I've got a lockup up the road. It's got a lot of my older books. There is a book called Shark Attack, and it was written by... I can't remember the name of the author, but there is a Shark Attack Institute in America. The shark attacks are that common that they actually record all of them, and not just in America. They've got records in there. And I as a kid, now bear in mind, Jaws came out in 76. So I would have had that book as well, around about 76, 77. So I'd have been 11, 12 years old, and there are some pretty graphic photographs in the middle. Where they put the photographs in the middle, and there's people with a leg missing or a bite mark that's the size of their chest. Love that stuff. Terrified, but love it. It's like horror movies and these roller coasters at theme parks. Terrifying and yet enjoyable. I like reading about sharks. I love Shark Week on National Geographic or whatever channel it is. Love all of that kind of stuff. Just don't want to meet one face to face, ever. And these people that go into a shark cage deliberately to get up close with a shark need taking out and either shooting or committing to some sort of institution, because that's just asking for trouble. Sharks don't screw around. They will eat you. Bears. A bit of an issue with bears as well. They seem really quite nasty. I've seen The Revenant. I know how it turns out. It's not pretty. Right, people, that's going to do us. We're almost at the hour mark. I think that will do us for today. It's going to be a bit of a hit and miss one next week because I think it's next week because I'm off on my travels. But I will be doing what I can. I need to fathom out exactly what my flight times are so that I can tell you exactly what it is that I will be doing, and more specifically the bits that I'm not doing. But I will keep you very, very closely informed on that. Rodney Fox was an Australian that was nearly bitten in half and survived. Is that a good thing? Can you imagine the nightmares that came after that? Oh, Jim Turner says clowns, they are creepy. I don't avoid seeing them though. They are weirdly creepy, aren't they? They are. I don't know what it is. Is it the makeup? Don't know. Chris Ford says, have fun. Catch you tomorrow, people. Yes, you certainly will. Everybody, go and have a fantastic day. I am going to go and do some digging on the company that is rumoured to have hit the wall possibly on Friday last week, but no official news as yet. If I find out any more, I will post it over on our WhatsApp group. I will go and have a look at the WhatsApp group in a minute, Footy, to see the links that you sent me. I will do that immediately after the show. But everybody, go and have a good day. Stay safe, look after yourself. I'll be back tomorrow. Until then, everybody, arrivederci and au revoir and auf Wiedersehen. I'm running out. I did know how to do it in Japanese. How do you do that? Sayonara. There you go. That's all I've got. Have a good day. All the best.